What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Auto 101 and welcome back to another car review. And today we're taking a look at this. It's a 2025 Kia K4. This is replacing the Kia Forte. It's actually a brand new compact sedan for 2025, which feels kind of weird because the compact sedan segment isn't as poppin' as it used to be, but I actually think this is one of the best new car values in all of North America right now. Let's get into it. Stay tuned. The Kia K4 is an all-new nameplate for Kia for 2025, at least in North America, but it's replacing a car that already existed in this market, that being the Kia Forte. Globally, there was already a Kia K4. Now, for 2025, Kia has kind of consolidated all of that nomenclature, and now this is their global compact car, the Kia K4. This is based off of the Hyundai Kia K3 platform. A lot of cars based on that, but the one to note the most is the Hyundai Elantra, because that's the direct competitor of this car within the family. And I mentioned in the intro a little bit that compact sedans are no longer as popular as they once were. But despite that, I think that the Kia K4 is one of the best new car values for a few reasons. Firstly, it offers a tremendous amount of features, like really a lot for the price. Secondly, it offers a lot of space for the price. And thirdly, it's backed by a stellar warranty, which makes it a great new car purchase and actually a used car purchase if you're buying this a few years used. While we're outside, let's start with talking about the exterior styling of the Kia K4. This definitely wears Kia's newest styling language with these lamps that kind of dip down like that, and styling elements that really accentuate the width of the car to make it look like a wide car with a lot of road presence. I've seen this styling on a lot of Kia models of late, and I think they've actually done a really good job with the overall styling of the car. Not because I think it's particularly beautiful, though that is subjective. I'll leave it to everyone to decide. But they've done a good job of making it stand out on the road. It's a very unique looking car. I mean, look at this C panel and D panel treatment here with this quarter window here. This little flick that goes up. It has almost like a notchback or a fastback type look. Hidden rear door handles. But then to give it a little bit more presence, they've also added this wheel well cladding that makes it look like a little bit of an SUV, I guess, similar to Subaru Crosstrek. Then you go to the back. Again, tail lamps that really accentuate the width of the car. A really aggressive rear end treatment here that looks like a diffuser. And the reverse light is single and mounted at the bottom of the bumper, which is very unique. This particular model we're looking at is only one up from the base, and I think the K4 is one of those cars that benefits from the higher trim models because a bigger set of wheels, some jazzier accents on the car really make the design stand out a bit more on this. And Hyundai Kia has been known for their aggressive avant-garde styling, and this K4 is definitely no exception. But let me know what you think in the comments below. If you prefer the styling of this K4, or do you prefer the styling of the Elantra, or do you prefer something else in the class, maybe like the Corolla or the Civic, which are a bit more conservative in their design language? Drop a comment below. And one of the things to know while we're on the outside about why I feel like the K4 is such a good value is because it's actually quite a large car despite being a compact sedan. 73 inches wide, about 186 inches long, and for context, these dimensions are not that far off from something like a Camry, which is only 6 inches longer than this K4. So it really does act and feel like a much bigger car, but for the price point of a compact car. Anyways, now let's go inside. With the interior of the K4, it's equally as interestingly designed as the exterior. First off, there's this new Kia steering wheel. It's a two-spoke design. It has a very 80s or early 90s feel to it. I don't know how I feel about it. It kind of looks dated in some ways, but then also really cool in other ways. I like how it has a bit of a concave, I don't know, the one that goes outside. It's like curved outward, which is nice because when you're driving, these buttons are very easy to access. And I also like the fact that the shape of the wheel is not a perfect circle, but it's also not a square. It's a bit of a squircle. It makes it, I mean, it's designed in a way it's very nice to hold. Also interesting in the interior is the fact that the door panel on the passenger side is gray on the top, black on the bottom. But when you go to the driver's side, it's black here, gray here, and then black everywhere else. So it's kind of like a bifurcated dashboard in terms of color, because everything here is black, and then you get to the passenger side and everything becomes a light gray. So that's kind of quirky, kind of cool. What's great about the interior of the K4 is the amount of features that you get regardless of the trim level. Now, we're one up from the base model right now. This is a car that starts in the low 20s in the US and in Canada. So really, in the context of the auto industry, it's an inexpensive car, but you still get all the features that you'd really want in a car in 2025. And the most important feature here on the left is the full suite of active safety that is standard in the Kia K4. I'm talking active cruise control right there, lane keep assist right there, lane assistance in terms of making sure you don't deviate from the lane. You could also set the adaptive cruise, obviously, to the level that you want. It also has traffic stop and go. So once the adaptive cruise is on in traffic, it could basically go to a complete stop and then restart again. It has rear cross traffic alert. It has blind spot monitoring in both of the mirrors. And what is interesting about this digital dash is that it's not a full digital dash. In the middle here, which is your trip computer, and you could adjust it with this button, this is digital, right? It's completely digital, but the left and the right, even though it looks digital, are actually not screens. They're digital in the sense that a Casio watch is digital. You know, it's like it's a fixed digital display, but it looks really nice. It looks really sleek, and it's a good way to have a cost-effective method of implementing a digital display, and you get the features of a digital display. Moving on over into the middle, a nice big touchscreen for Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and also the standard Kia apps that you have in here, which is quite nice. It's a really good system, fast, responsive, barely any lag. It's very easily laid out as well. And what's nice about the K4 is that there's also the exact physical buttons that you want. So physical buttons for climate, all the climate functions here, not just one or two, a physical volume dial in the middle, and then hot buttons to go to maybe your most frequently used functions within the system. There's also two USB-C charging ports here, and you could switch between just charging or also charging and pairing your phone by pressing this button. So that's a nice little nifty feature. And a little interesting quirky feature are these cup holders. So you could close them up like this if you want to put in like a big gulp or something. But let's say you have a smaller water bottle or a smaller coffee cup. Push this button, this will come out, and you have these adjustable clips and a smaller kind of holder to put in a smaller sized item in each of these. In the driver's seat here, I have a ton of space. I mentioned outside that this is a pretty large car for the compact class, and you can see that here. There's a ton of room in the Kia K4, both in the back seats, both in the front passenger seat and the front driver's seat. There's no lack of space in the cabin of the Kia K4s. And it's not just the space in the front that's amazing. There's also a lot of space in the back, a ton of space really, and a ton of space in the trunk. You will not feel claustrophobic in here despite it being a sedan instead of an SUV, because they've done a great job with the space efficiency. There's also a lot of good storage here, storage here, storage here, storage here. Really good job, like I said, with the packaging overall of the Kia K4. That being said, not everything with the interior is amazing, but some of the materials to me just don't feel as nice as they should. For example, this is all hard plastic on the top. The steering wheel is a softer rubber, but I just don't like the texture and consistency of the graining on the steering wheel. This is all hard plastic up here too. Really, the only thing on the door panel that isn't hard plastic is this little armrest section here. Likewise with the center console, this is also a little bit squidgy, but my issue with this and with the door panel one is that it's not squishy enough. It's still really hard, and it just doesn't provide the best levels of comfort here as well. So I could see maybe over time that becoming a little bit annoying. But on the flip side of the material feel is the build quality, because everything is put together very nicely. There's no creaks, there's no rattles, there's no pieces coming loose. And this is a car with 15,000 miles, so it's seen a little bit of use, but everything still looks and feels brand new. So a bit of a hit or miss. Quality of build is great. Quality of materials maybe is not as good as it could be. There are some other issues I want to talk about the K4 that are worth considering. First of all, I could never really get the driving position to be what I wanted it to be. There's a lot of space, but there's something about the position that just didn't work for me and my body type at 5'9", but everybody's different. Maybe it'll work for you, but that was something that I struggled with a little bit. Also, while the styling is very avant-garde, very futuristic and out there, this door handle, I just don't think it's well designed. Let me explain. Firstly, the door kind of cuts out like this, right? It juts out. So if you go to open it with your right hand, which is what you would think with the way this is designed, for your hand to go in, you open it like this, but then you're kind of standing in the way of the door. So almost every time, if you open this door without thinking, you go here and bam, this car kind of clobbers your thigh. So it's not the nicest feeling. So what do you do to get around it? You open it with your left hand, but then you're kind of putting it in the opposite way, and it still kind of comes and hits you. Not the biggest deal, and I'm sure you get used to it over time, but it definitely took me by surprise the first couple times. And I talked about how cool it is that the reverse light is down here, but I think this poses a bit of a safety issue. The reverse light is meant to be visible for other cars to make sure that they know you're reversing. And putting it down here on the bottom like a quasi faux diffuser, I just don't know how visible this is, especially during the daylight. You can't really see that all the way down there. I mean, look how small it is in relativity to the rest of the car. It's just a really tiny little reverse light. And the last thing I want to talk about is the key fob. It's a cool looking key fob, but I have a few issues with it. Firstly, the quality doesn't seem to be great because it's at 15,000 miles. The paint is kind of peeling away. It is a very nice texture. It's like a soft rubberized texture, but the texture is already coming off. Secondly, the buttons are not as tactile as I would like, so it's kind of hard to know if you've pushed the button. And I felt like that a little bit with the trunk hold, like I would press it, but it just wasn't doing enough. I had to press it again. Again, something that you would get used to, but it is something that's a little bit annoying. And the last thing that I don't like about this key is the proximity of the hold for trunk and hold for alarm buttons. There's no real delineation and feel between the two, and it's very easy to just misposition your thumb on the edge here and accidentally press hold for alarm instead of hold for trunk. So they could have maybe separated these two a bit. So Kia, if you're watching, maybe you could change these buttons if people care. I care, so there you have it. One other thing to note is the AC performance. Single zone climate control on this trim, not the biggest deal I feel, but this AC was just not getting cold enough. And I don't know if that's because maybe the compressor isn't large enough or the engine doesn't have enough juice to power the AC as well. But in the temperatures that I was in this week, which were hovering around the high 30s Celsius or close to 100 in terms of Fahrenheit, it just was not getting cold enough. The car was parked outside, to be fair, so it was getting a lot of heat, but it was black, so maybe it was absorbing a little bit more heat, but it just was not getting cold enough. All right, so let's take the 2025 Kia K4 for a drive and talk about the powertrain and what the car is like to drive. Powertrain-wise, there's two engines on offer in North America, and I think even globally, actually. It's just those two engines. There's a standard 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, naturally aspirated, and the premium engine, or the more sporty engine, is a 1.6-liter Turbo 4 that has a bit more power, a bit more zest for more performance-oriented driving, I suppose. Now, in the LXS model, which is what we're in right now, one up from the base, it comes with the 2-liter standard naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine. And the word I would use for this engine is probably decent. It's a decent engine because there's pros and cons associated with this engine. Firstly, let's talk about the pros, that being fuel economy. Really, really efficient engine. It gets great fuel economy. 30 miles per gallon in the city, 40 miles per gallon on the highway. And through this week of driving this K4, it's been phenomenal. I've done over 200 miles of very heavy city driving in high heat, and I still haven't finished a tank. So it's a very fuel efficient engine. I think there's improvements that could be made to the power and the delivery of power. The 2-liter has just under 150 horsepower, right around 147. And it's not a heavy car, even though I said it's a large car, because it is a large car. It still only weighs around 3,000 pounds, which is really not that heavy for a car in 2025 with the amount of safety features that are built into these cars. And 147 horsepower is not that bad. There's a lot of years and decades where 150 horsepower for a 3,000 pound car was plenty. But this car also only has 132 pound-feet of torque. So going off the line, it just doesn't feel as peppy and as quick to respond to inputs as it should. And I think a big part of that is, yes, the torque, but also the transmission that's paired with this car. It's a CVT, which Hyundai Kia very conveniently calls an IVT for intelligent variable transmission, but it really is just a CVT. Don't get me wrong. It's functions exactly like a CVT. And this transmission, I think, is very heavily tuned for efficiency, which is why this is such an efficient car. But on the flip side of that, it kind of feels a little bit lazy off the line, doesn't really kick in the power right away. And in the North American context, with fast freeways and the need to pass on those fast freeways, this car just doesn't feel like it gets the power down quick enough. So I feel like even though the absolute power figure isn't that bad, improvements could be made to this engine and transmission powertrain combination to make it feel a bit peppier and a bit sportier. The other thing that I think can be improved with this engine is the feel of it. It just feels a little bit coarse and a little bit agricultural. And maybe that's because the engine is stressed a lot because of the 132 pound-feet of torque, like going up a hill or trying to get off the line in traffic. When you put your foot down, it just has a little bit of a rough, coarse feel. I haven't driven the 1.6 liter turbo 4, but that has 190 horsepower, significantly more torque, and also it has an 8-speed automatic and not this Hyundai Kia IVT CVT. So if you're someone who wants a bit more pep, a bit more zip, definitely consider the 1.6 because it'll be torqueier. It's a turbo, and it'll also get the power down better because of that 8-speed transmission. At least get the power down in a more peppy manner as opposed to a more efficient manner. And how is the K4 to drive? Not bad. I think it's really good in city driving because it's damped very nicely for plushness. So it goes over bumps very well. In day-to-day traffic, bumper-to-bumper traffic over rough roads or uneven roads, it feels like a very comfortable, smooth ride. It has a relatively long wheelbase for a compact sedan, so it also feels fairly comfortable. But it doesn't feel sporty. And I know that goes against the look of the K4 because Kia has really prioritized a very sporty look inside and out for the K4, but it doesn't really handle in the sportiest manner. It's a bit soft. It wallows a little bit. It's definitely tuned more for comfort. So they're kind of like opposing characteristics in a compact everyday car. And Kia has opted to tune for a more comfortable ride, which is probably the right answer for the majority of people, because in a day-to-day car, that comfort is really important. All right, so what is my conclusion on the Kia K4? I think if you're someone who wants a lot of value from their compact sedan, a lot of space, a lot of features, and it feels cool, then definitely consider the K4. It's a smaller class of car than it used to be, but there still are some heavy hitters in there, like the Corolla, the Civic, the Mazda 3. All of them offer a different and unique take on the compact car class. I think where Kia has settled in with the K4 is offering a cool looking package with a lot of features at a very attractive price point. Thank you for watching this review. Let me know in the comments what you would pick from this classic car, or if you would go with something else like a small crossover. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you own a K4, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Drop them all below. As always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your support, and I'll catch you next time. Stay tuned.